Hey, welcome back to the supplementary videos for the Become a Published Author in 4 Weeks Bootcamp. And in this video, I am going to quickly show you how I did my social media graphics really quickly using just PicMonkey. And I produced, just using this sort of method, I produced 40 graphics in a matter of a couple of hours and just get it all done. So let's begin. The idea is to use these social media graphics to really pick the interest of people and sort of create the resonance with them, so for them to engage in a conversation or look up your book, look up the URL, right? So to do that, my strategy is to create a bunch of graphics featuring quotes from the book. So when I was proofreading on my own, and I have I pull up Evernote and I just basically pull out the quotes that I wanted to use for these graphics. So I pull out a whole bunch, and then I was able to sort them out later. And I also reached out to my inner circle who have reviewed the book and gave me input of, I just asked them, what quotes really jumped out at you? So I have gathered a series of quotes. Here are the 20 of them, as you can see, and also a whole bunch from my inner circle. So I'm going to just use one of these to show you how I did it. So I created two sets. One set is a landscape proportion, specifically 1200 pixel by 628, and the other one is 1200 by 1200, a square proportion. So the landscape proportion is good for Facebook post link and Twitter, and the square proportion is good for Facebook photo post and Pinterest and Instagram and such. So of course, there are many, you can optimize for each platform, but for simplicity's sake, I just created those two. A note on the landscape proportion is that you want to leave a generous margin, top and bottom and both sides, because different platform has slightly different dimension, and you want to make sure that the text doesn't get chopped out when you post it on different platforms. So let's make some graphics. Oh, sorry, not edit. You go to design. Okay, so let's do a square one. Give me a square one. Let's say I want a canvas color. So I would pick a canvas color that is that matches your book cover color. So just not too fussed. That looks close enough to my orange. I would just make it 1200. It doesn't need to be super big. And if the file size gets too big, it it just make everything clunky with not a whole lot of advantage. So you go to text. Sorry, just out of habit, I click on my own text, and now it's loading. Okay, now, yep, and this is the PicMonkey selection. Let's stick with that. Okay, let's not make it too more complicated than it needs to be. And I go back to my notes. So I pick one. So I'm going to show you one that is slightly longer. So sorry, I was trying to see something. So for something that's longer, I would choose a typeface that is more like a book, right? More like reading a sentence rather than a display font. So let's say be conservative. I'm picking Joy Serif. Um, find the right type the font size. Let's try that. Not bad. Let's see how it looks. Okay, that looks decent. So like I said, leave a generous margin to make sure that nothing gets cropped off. Now, it looks pretty good here. But what I want to point, so a couple of things, right? Number one is you want like any other graphics, you want to make sure that you're not like trying 5 different kinds of typefaces or 10 different kind of typefaces or try to be cute with your typefaces. Stick with one or two. I would say at most two. One I would use for the quote and one for the URL to include. If it's a shorter quote, then I would try maybe a display text. If it's a longer one, I would use something like a more regular kind of text. Make sure that your background color is not too busy, so the attention is really about the quote that is on the graphic, right? And the last thing is you don't see it here, but let's say here, right? If you encounter a situation like this guy here, the word paralysis, it's kind of like just one word on a line and it may look, off. Make sure that you either adjust the font size or the width of the text box a little bit to see it, to make sure that that doesn't happen, right? Now that looks better because it's like how our brain reads, right? You don't want to have like one little word and the end of in one on one line. So you can adjust the width of the text box, you can adjust the size of the font, and you can just use the return button to make sure that maybe all the length of the lines are comparable to each other. So let's say I want to do this. Just make it a little bit, give it a little bit more space. So yeah, that could be your quote, right? And then you want to put a URL. Actually, I want to make it a little smaller there. And then you can put your URL on the quote as well. So let's say if you post on Instagram, that doesn't allow you to have a hyperlink in the post. That would be helpful for people to come to be able to find out more about, oh, what is this quote about, right? So let's say typically for this kind, for URL and such, I like to use a sans serif font and one that doesn't that's not, I would say, not too fat. They're a little bit more condensed. Let's see if I can find a good one. Let's just say this one, right? So maybe you want to include your name there, and then you want to have the URL, right? Okay, so there. Bam, there you go. So now you have a graphic. Now you have done one, then you can use the same process to do the one 1200 by 628, and to just to keep yourself sane, right? Then I would open another window, go to PicMonkey, do that. Match the canvas color. Oops, never figure out how to do that. No. Let's find out magic picker, color picker. So, oh yeah, I don't have the hex number, right? Do I? Okay, that's fine. But you know the drill. I don't want to spend too much time on that. So, okay, find that color, apply, and you can just copy that over. So copy everything over. There you go. So after you have done that, you can save these two graphics, and then what you can do is you don't have to do over, make another one, find the hex number, and start a new file, right? You can just go to another quote, copy it, paste it. Maybe you want to, maybe this one, right? This one is a little bit shorter. You may want to find a different display font. Let's do this, right? Let's say, yeah, and that's it. There you have it. Oops, that happened. There you have it. And when you get into a rhythm, then you can quickly make a whole series of graphics with minimum effort. So I hope this is helpful, and go get busy.